There we go. Namaste, everyone. Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Transformation Q&A Thursday. I'm in a secret location. I'll just explain that in a second. Before we begin, let us invoke. All right, be aware of your heart. Remember, the wisdom is in the heart, the love is in the heart, gratitude is within the heart. Allow yourself to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the heart. And be aware of the crown. Be aware of the center of the crown. Be aware of the heart and the crown together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui, Lord Mahaguru Dumiling, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Saraswati, to Holy Master Count Saint Germain, to all the Holy Gurus, Holy Masters, Saints, Archangels, Holy Angels, Healing Ministers, to our Divine Selves or Higher Souls, we humbly invoke for your Divine Light, Love, and Power, for your Divine Help, Guidance, and Protection, for your soothing, healing energies. Thank you for blessing us with clarity, understanding, and the ability to transform. We thank you, Lord God. We thank you all. Gratitude, respect, and love. So be it. So be it. So be it. Thank you. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. You might be saying that's a different background. Haven't seen that before. Well, my Airbnb host is in the other room, and he's watching a Polish sitcom that's a comedy, and I didn't want to disturb him, so I want to give him space to enjoy. We only have a few more nights together, so I wanted him to enjoy that and not make sure you guys could hear clearly and make sure he didn't feel like he had to like mute it so much that he couldn't hear the screen. So we're actually in my bedroom. Don't get any ideas. So we're in my bedroom, and it's been a great time. We're getting close to closing up shop here in Sarasota. So my son and I went to the gym, worked out for about an hour or so. Then we had dinner, and then I bought him a very expensive ticket to a salsa bachata festival here in Sarasota, and I'm trying to get him to overcome his fears of being around women, which now that I think about it, I should do psychotherapy on him. Anyway, so he's giving me all these rationalizations and justifications as to why there's going to be a bunch of middle-aged single moms there. I don't want to dance with that. And I'm like, Gabriel, you don't understand. But, that's my job to set the example. And then hopefully over time he gets comfortable with the example and follows suit. So it starts tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. and goes until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then on Sunday, I get the blessed opportunity of getting my first ever COVID test because I realized I have to get a COVID test to go to Hawaii. I did not know that, which funny enough, my client who travels a lot and was in Mexico, he just brought it up. He goes, yeah, make sure you get your COVID test. And I'm like, what do you mean COVID test? He goes, yeah, Hawaii, Bermuda, you have to get a COVID test within 72 hours of leaving. And I was like, so I basically spent like 2 hours today finding the right places, who can do it in time, all the logistical things, which are my ninja power anyways. I just didn't get the logistical, oh yeah, COVID test. So I want to appreciate you guys for sending in questions. I have them right in front of my fat face. And um, this was a question I was going to answer last week, but I was reminded of it. So thank you for the person who asked it. It is about Arhatic Yoga. Arhatic Yoga. So the question is, in essence, what is the journey of becoming an Arhatic Yogi or Arhatic Yoga practitioner? And it's a great question. It's a, it's How do I put this? So in the 1970s, in 1970 actually, there was a great teacher who wrote the Yoga of Synthesis, Sri Aurobindo. He was a great yogi, like a great yogi from India. And he left the body, I believe, in the mid 70s. And so he finished one of his last books was the Yoga of Synthesis in 1970. And funny enough, him and Master Choa have the same birthday. And in this book, he talks about the different branches of yoga that one can use to properly develop themselves. And that was a major influence in Arhatic Yoga. So Arhatic Yoga, Arhat, means saint in Buddhism, right? So Arhatic Yoga is the process of how does one become a saint in one incarnation. Maybe not one incarnation, but to reach a high level of development of a strong connection of the incarnated soul, the little self, and the higher soul, the bigger self, and how do they have a strong connection? How can you be led by your higher soul versus being led by the lower tendencies, right? So, for instance, someone who hasn't overcome greed, lust, or the need for power, that person doesn't have a strong influence from their higher soul in those areas of their lives. So, Arhatic Yoga came out about 40 years ago. Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui was the developer of it. He is the Sat Guru connected to Arhatic Yoga, meaning the permanent spiritual teacher of this practice. And he aged himself very quickly through experimentation because he didn't want to subjugate the uninitiated or even advanced souls to these practices before experimenting on himself. So he was the guinea pig for the different breathing exercises, the different purification exercises, the different physical exercises, the different meditations, etc. So what we got is the system of Arhatic Yoga, but back in the day, about 30, 35 years ago, the first group of people that were close to Master Choa after he worked out a lot of the kinks and twinks of it, those were called Batch X, the Batch X. And the only person that's left over from Batch X is Master Ko. Everyone else is gone. Why? Number one, karma. Number two, um, these practices are extraordinarily, in back in the day, the practices have not been refined. So they were very, very intense. And so for those people who are too sensitive to energy, it would be overwhelming. Master Ko, through the blessings of God and the great ones, he's not very sensitive to energy. So he can be experiencing a lot of vibrations in his different bodies and be unaffected by it. Most people are not like that, right? So he always wanted to have these really high level spiritual experiences like all of his other disciples or co-disciples. He goes, I want to travel the galaxy. I want to see all these beautiful lights, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And as Master Cho would say, why would I make a bulldozer sensitive? Because Master Ko is Ray 1 energy of the seven rays of creation. He's Ray 1 energy, which is the pioneer that pushes the trees to the ground, clears the land, right? But if you are very sensitive to people's thoughts and feelings, and you feel people rejecting you, you feel people judging you, you feel people thinking you're a complete weirdo, that you're waving your hands in the air, helping them with their physical ailments, what is that person most likely going to do? They're going to contract and they're going to quit. But because Master Ko couldn't feel anything, he couldn't feel the judgment of others, the negativity of others, the worked up emotions of others. He's just like, all right, here's the protocol. All right, whatever. I'll do it on my wife. Her hip healed. She was able to walk and then run within a 5 week period, as opposed to who knows how long, right? The doctors were amazed. They said it was a miraculous recovery. A piece of cake. Piece of cake. I like cake. Um, so, so Arhatic Yoga is a series of purification practices, breathing exercises, and meditations to properly, rapidly, and safely evolve you, of strengthening the connection of your incarnated soul to your higher soul. And so Master Choa says, if one practices Arhatic Yoga regularly for 20 years, you can become enlightened. Now, again, it's not the enlightenment of a Lord Buddha or Lord Christ, but it's an enlightenment of a very developed person. One of the practitioners within pranic healing was went from a point of light, right? A point of light if you looked at their 12th chakra, which is what we meditate on in the Twin Hearts meditation, went from a point of light to a fully blossomed lotus flower, generating a tremendous amount of energy within a 17-year period, as opposed to dozens and dozens and dozens of lifetimes, right? So what makes all of these things work, what makes Arhatic Yoga work is the energy, right? Because we are in an energy school. So without a strong connection to God, without a strong connection to your lineage, without a strong connection to your teacher, the techniques are, not to say worthless is not the word, but they're ineffective. What makes Arhatic Yoga work is your connection to your lineage, because that's who you plug into for energy, which accelerates your practices, which accelerates your evolution. So the process of Arhatic Yoga varies around the world, but in general, for the United States, if you want to take Arhatic Yoga, you have to do level one pranic healing, which is 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, 16 hours. You do level two pranic healing, again, Saturday and Sunday, 16 hours. And then pranic psychotherapy, or level three, which is a Saturday and Sunday, or 16 hours. Then that qualifies you to apply for Arhatic Yoga preparatory level. And then once you take, and that's a Saturday and Sunday, the prices approximately are 350 for level one, 450 for level two, 350 for level three, and then Arhatic is about, if I remember correctly, 900-ish. It's been a long time, but it's about 900 for Arhatic Yoga prep. And in that, what does it mean? Purification. So you learn practices to purify, 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 because each successive level of Arhatic Yoga expands your energy body by a factor of 10. So when you go from prep to level one, your energy body expands by a factor of 10. Then when you go from one to level two, it expands by a factor of 10. Two to three, factor of 10. So from Arhatic prep to level three, you're looking at 1,000-fold strengthen of energy. Now, is that all going to be utilized in the physical plane? Not necessarily, right? Because you're like, well, if I had 1,000 times more physical energy, what could I do? Not quite like that. But your ability to heal, your ability to transform energy, your ability to do things in the inner world is much, 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 much greater. But if you don't purify at the lower levels, i.e., Arhatic Yoga prep, you're going to apply and get denied, because you have to apply to go to all the levels of Arhatic Yoga. So the masters who teach Arhatic Yoga will have you fill out a form. They'll be looking at what you fill out in the form, and then they'll be looking at your energy body. They'll be scanning your aura, your chakras, and then looking at your virtues. Some people get denied for Arhatic prep. It's not often, but people get denied all the time for the higher levels. And they're getting more serious of who they let in to the higher levels. I was denied for level one, and level one and level two was taught in the same weekend. So I was applying for one and two, and I got denied um, twice, and it took me 7 years of purification to qualify for level one. So I was like, I'm ready. After my first year, denied. I'm ready, denied. So it took me 7 years of preparatory work to get accepted. Now, knowing what I now know, if I took level one and level two and got accepted because I was a practitioner, I wasn't just a graduate of the class, my entire life would have been destroyed. No doubt whatsoever. So I was being protected from going to the higher practices, right? So, but through 7 years of purification, 7 years of service, 7 years of healing more people and healing myself, 7 years of practicing the virtues, my energy body could withstand the amplification of energy. So it's very, very important. So people, Master Choa says, rushing through the levels of Arhatic Yoga is equivalent to spiritual suicide. because it's too much energy too quickly. So there's no point rushing. It's like, going into the gym and you're doing 100 pounds on the bench press and the guy next to you is doing 400 pounds on the bench press. And you go, well, I'm going to catch up to that guy. You're going to be in for a world of hurt. So you never compare your progress to the progress of other people. How do you apply, get the form, start that process? Does it help to have someone like yourself work with us and get to that point and make sure we are ready? It can be helpful. Yeah, a lot of my clients are Hatha yoga practitioners and have been for many years. Um, and as one of the masters says, Arhatic yogis have unique requirements to ordinary people. And when I say ordinary people, I mean people that have ordinary energy bodies, right? You have an average, right? It doesn't mean a person is higher or lower. It just means like if I said, well, what's the average height of the world, right? I wouldn't say the average height is 9 feet tall, and I wouldn't say the average height is 5 feet tall, right? There's an average. So to say average means an ordinary person has an energy body of a certain caliber, certain size. But our Hatha yogis, who do lots of inner work, lots of purification, lots of high level meditation practices, they have a much bigger aura, they have much bigger chakras, but they also have much bigger tendencies coming out that can derail them in their life. So it's usually harder to heal an Arhatic yogi than an ordinary person in general, not in all cases, right? So the process is pretty simple. You just take level one, level two, level three, right? Basic, advanced psychotherapy, the three classes. And then you find out when the next Arhatic Yoga prep is being offered. And typically in the United States, it's offered once a year on the West Coast and once a year on the East Coast, and occasionally once a year in the Midwest. Usually, Arhatic Yoga prep is taught before retreats. Why? Because somebody's like, I want to experience what an Arhatic Yoga retreat is like, which means you have to take Arhatic Yoga prep. So the retreats in the United States are typically the end of February or middle of March. So you would take your Arhatic prep Wednesday and Thursday, and then go to the retreat Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you take your Arhatic Yoga prep in the middle of the week, and then the weekend, that's how they typically organize it. But there are other times throughout the year that they'll offer our Hatha Yoga prep outside of a retreat. But in general, that's the process. Next one on East Coast this month, I think. Okay, yeah. I haven't been looking at the calendar of when prep's being offered, but it's a big deal. It's an initiation, so all the classes in pranic healing are initiations. Cleansing, purifying, and strengthening your energy body. So from prep or from basic to advanced, that's an initiation. Advanced to psychotherapy, that's an initiation. And then the attrition rate is about 90%. So for every 10 basic pranic healing graduates in the world, there's one Arhatic yogi in general. That's the attrition rate. So we lose that many people because as you keep getting initiated, the energy becomes more intense, even if you're not consciously aware of it. Want to go, but need the house to sell first. Correct. Yeah. So prioritizing time of life, all that stuff. I get it. Um, but it's transformative. It's definitely the accelerated path. It's not easy. One of my mentors said many years ago, practicing our Hatha yoga daily is like climbing a mountain daily. If done properly, if done with reverence, if done with intensity, yeah, it can be very, very intense, but it's worth it. One of the masters says, when I practice Arhata Yoga, he said this in the early years of practicing. He says, I felt like Superman. I felt like I could do anything, right? Because the energy is super clean, you're expanded, clarity of mind is there, so you're able to do great things. So that's kind of the practice and the essence of Arhatic Yoga. And then there's other levels. So to go from prep to level one, um, my goal is level 5 in this incarnation, which is humbling because Master Choa at one point said level 5 is like kindergarten. I was like, what is he talking about? I'm spending my entire incarnation to get to level 5, and it's like kindergarten. It's kindergarten in relationship to the higher teachings and the greater beings, right? So that's why Master Choa said one time in a video, he says, the teacher has only shown you the skin. So he says, don't get too prideful, right? Because we're like, oh, I'm Arhatic this, level one, level two, level three, level four, level five. And he goes, the teacher's just showing you the skin. So you have to stay humble, which will make your progress much, much faster and much more enjoyable and smoother. People get into trouble on the spiritual path when pride starts kicking in. And you can see it in every religion, every spiritual school, whether it's pranic healing or otherwise. You can see as soon as pride starts coming in, there will be a downfall, without exception. And there are little things to look for and big things to look for with negative pride. One of the biggest ones is no longer taking credit and believing they're the source of the information and they're the source of the energy. Also, when you start seeing a lot of I statements is another indicator. Me, me. That's another indicator. So, trying to think anything else to cover. It's, I mean, I've been a practitioner of Arhatic Yoga for um, 17 years. I learned in July of 2004. So I've been practicing for 17 years. And it's not easy. Totally worth it, but not easy. So, um, which actually leads us into the next question about expectations. Dun, dun, dun. I think it's the next question. Yeah. So, bad karma versus unrealistic expectations. How do you know if negative result is that you had unrealistic expectations or if you just had bad karma relating to the situation? It's almost like they're two different questions as opposed to either or. Um, so karma again is simply fruit, action. You plant corn, you get corn. You plant watermelons, you get watermelons, right? It's cause and effect. That's karma. Cause and effect. It's linear, right? It's not like I plant corn and I don't know what's going to happen. It's a matter of time, but corn's going to come up, right? So it's not as complicated as people make it seem. So unrealistic expectations deal with your viewpoint. So we suffer because of our viewpoint, right? We expect somebody to treat us a certain way. When they don't treat us that way, we get disappointed. We have guilt, we have shame, we have fear, we have anger. So the feedback loop is if we're suffering, that means our viewpoint is wrong. You're going, what? So I should throw out my expectations, the baby with the bathwater? In general. Meaning, if your expectation is continuing to cause you suffering, you need to change your expectations and viewpoint, not change the person or change the situation. So that's a big thing to be aware of. So if you want better fruit, plant better seeds. So let's say you have the expectation of, okay, I want to improve my marriage. Okay, you have to be able to see your marriage clearly and then have realistic expectations to prevent frustration, impatience, etc. And then you have to get feedback and then monitor the feedback. So it's dealing with self-honesty, seeing things clearly, having realistic expectations, and then adjusting accordingly. And all that requires a lot of mental effort, a lot of awareness, and most people don't have that. So it's like, okay, I want to have a beautiful, loving relationship with my spouse. Okay, what's your expectation? Well, I would like to get that over the next 3 months. Okay, how long has there been disharmony? 20 years. Okay, unrealistic expectation. How much inner work are you willing to do? How much inner work are they willing to do? Are you willing to do forgiveness daily? Are they willing to do forgiveness daily? Okay, so you have to have awareness and understanding of the situation to give you realistic expectations, and then that's your set point. And then as you practice, you get feedback. and then you adjust your expectations. It's not about lowering your standard, it's about seeing it as it is, right? Going to the gym. Like I guys give you that analogy of I have my expectation of putting on 20 pounds of lean body mass over a 10-week period. I looked at all the research, strength training, diet, I can do it. Well, after 10 weeks of practicing, I lost a pound. How is that possible? Which I still don't actually know how that's possible. I think I like broke the laws of biology or something, right? So what did I have to, so what could I have done? I could have kept my expectations high that I'm supposed to gain this amount of weight in this period of time, and then what? Continue to suffer. Or I could change my expectations, see things clearer, right? Not perfectly clear because we're not God, clearer, and then move forward. And that's exactly what I did. And instead of it taking 10 weeks, it took 14 months. Big difference. But it was totally worth it because I was getting healthy through the process. I was learning things about my physical body through the process, right? Learning about nutrition, learning about supplementation, learning about strength training through the process. So it was worth it. So goes back to awareness, always goes back to awareness. So again, bad karma versus unrealistic expectations. No such, and to label something as bad karma is doing what? Projecting your own expectations. Because what if that quote unquote bad karma that happened to you just neutralized ancient karma? Now you're able to move forward, but then you have something really good happen to you in that moment, but that actually leads you astray. For instance, let's say within you there's a seed of greed and you get a promotion and you're super excited that you got the promotion, but it awakens the tendency of greed within you, and then you blow all of your money and you blow all the money in your bonus and then some, and then you go into 10, 20, $30,000 of debt, right? So it's not about good or bad karma per se, it's about what seeds do you want to plant to harvest what you want to harvest. So connecting it, so is there a way to know if your expectations are unreasonable before the outcome, or is it always a wait and see kind of thing? It goes back to awareness, goes back to feedback. Expectations are primarily in the heart chakra. So when I do healing on people with relationship stuff, I remove expectations from their heart because it causes them suffering. It's like a program around the heart, and it affects the way the heart expands and opens and radiates energy. So that has to be removed. So you can be loving without expectations. Like, I'm going to love you if you do this. I'm going to love you if you don't do that. And that's not love, right? That's more navel chakra. Here's a good distinction. The heart gives unconditionally, the navel gives strategically, right? So, to give an example in business, if I'm a business owner and there's charity A and charity B, and I'm going to donate money, I'm going to donate to the charity that gives my company better PR. That's strategic giving. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's based more on the navel. The heart just says, who needs resources? Who needs money? Who needs time? Who needs help? Right? The shirt off my back. That's the heart chakra. Right? So we have to remove expectations because it causes what? Suffering. Anytime we have suffering, it's because of an unrealistic expectation. I hear this a lot on the spiritual path. I've been meditating for 3 years and I still have thoughts. I've been meditating for 3 years and I still have negative feelings. I've been meditating. Okay. How many lifetimes have you lived? How many lifetimes have you generated negative thoughts, negative emotions, planted negative seeds, hurt people by the thousands, right? So it's not realistic to go, all right, well, I did it for 3 years. Why aren't I enlightened, right? Unrealistic expectations. That's why Master Choa says over and over and over and over again, follow simple instructions. That's it. Does that mean you go blindly? No. If Master Choa says, okay, you need to, if you want to obtain enlightenment, here's a system that you can practice diligently for 20 years and you will achieve that. So shut your mouth and get to work. That's it. So he's setting the expectation of you're not going to get enlightened with one technique. You're not going to get enlightened in 1 month. You're not going to get enlightened by going to one guru or attending one seminar, right? He's giving you realistic expectations that if you practice this modality and healing system and yoga system for 20 years regularly, you will obtain illumination. But people don't want to hear that, right? We're in the microwave society, which is connected to unrealistic expectations. That's how it keeps going back to it. Look at the dating world, unrealistic expectations. Look at dieting, fitness, unrealistic expectations. Think about this. People go to school, watch, you ready? They go to school, get a 4-year degree, spend what? On average, $100,000, maybe take out some student loans, blah, 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 right? And they come out and they're only able to get a job making $35,000, $45,000 a year. But that's the reality. But what were their expectations? They were unrealistic. Ta-da, right? So a lot of suffering is connected to the mind. Expectations is in the mind. So you have to see things clearly first. So is there a way to know if your expectations are unreasonable before the outcome? Awareness and clearly seeing it, like awareness and understanding. So getting feedback, looking at data, statistics, talking to people, knowing the lay of the land, right? Because I can guarantee you, this isn't to put down my ex-wife even a little bit. It's to give you guys understanding that if somebody sat down for 5 minutes and gave me understanding on what I was getting involved in with my ex-wife and what that would entail of getting married and moving in with each other, because I had no experience of that, I had no understanding of that. I didn't even really have expectations, to be honest, right? It would have alleviated a tremendous amount of suffering in my life. But that wasn't my karma, right? That wasn't my karma. My higher soul had another plan for me to work out karma with this person and generate some good karma, very good karma along the way. So it was destined to happen. But my point is, if somebody sat down to help me have understanding, which nobody did, because I had no advisors, counselors, mentors, no one in my life, family included, to guide me, right? So if you, and this goes back to humility. So if you're trying to get into a relationship or get out of a relationship, get into a business, get out of a business, get into a career, get out of a career, get into a spiritual practice, get out of a spiritual practice like a cult, you want to get the lay of the land. You want to have understanding. And then when you make your decision, you move forward and then you keep getting feedback, right? You have to be humble. You have to be aware and humble and keep being open to feedback. Hey, I'm moving forward, like I'm getting the results. I'm losing the weight. My relationship is more harmonious. I'm feeling better. I'm being more optimistic about life, whatever the case may be. I'm increasing my profits. And then you keep moving. But if you're suffering, look at your expectations. If somebody says to you, hey, if you work with my super duper marketing company, we can triple your income, your revenues in 1 month. Okay, great. Show me. Where's the proof, right? But people don't do that because it takes time and mental energy. So they're lazy and they go, okay, this guy told me this, this, and this. And then they sign up, then they get disappointed. Why? Because I had unrealistic expectations. So I hope that's clearer than before. Follow up to the previous question. If there is no way to know if your expectations are unreasonable or not, then doesn't make. Here's my water. I was like, I brought my water in here. I put it on the other side. I had expectations it was on the other side. Um, Follow up the previous question. If there is no way to know if your expectations are unreasonable or not, then does it make more sense to have to just not have any expectations? As one of my mentors says, you should have the mindset of don't care, which is what? Non-attachment. Doesn't mean you don't have compassion. Doesn't mean you don't love people. Doesn't mean you don't care for people. No. But you don't care in the sense of like you don't have a dog in the fight. No conflict, right? So, for instance, what is my expectation over the next 2 months? I'm going to go to Hawaii. I'm going to be in Maui. I'm going to be in Honolulu. My intention is rejuvenation, rejuvenation, rejuvenation. Could things happen along the way that cause me pain, suffering, and sorrow? Absolutely. But I've let go. My intention is clear, and I've let go of my intention, which is part of Kriya Shakti. That's it. So if there's a moment of disappointment, I go, oh, I had an expectation that it was supposed to look like this, feel like this, sound like this, taste like this, experience like this. Okay, I let it go. I let it go. I'll give you. You guys ready? This is a funny story. I mentioned this. A week ago or 2 weeks ago? I think it was. I don't know. It might have been a week ago. So you ready? Watch. So I ordered that bike. Right? We talked about that bike. I ordered the bike. $400. I was like, little beat around cruiser. They got amazing reviews online. They got an amazing marketing Facebook group. Like they're very, very good at what they do, expectation wise, right? Woo. Okay. So I'm following up with them, and I said, look, I've had the bike for 3 weeks. I haven't been able to fix it. And they go, we realize we have to send you a prong to remove the prong from the front of the bike and put the new prong on, and then that prong will be compatible with the tire and you'll be good to go, right? So I gave them a week to send me that prong. And they said, well, and I emailed them. I said, well, we're at week 3 here. You guys said you were going to contact me when you were sending the part out, just following up, right? They go, well, we found out that this is what we can do for you. I go, okay, this will be interesting. They go, we can give you a 40% refund and you keep the bike and it's going to take 4 to 6 months to send you the part. 4 to 6 months. Did you hear what I just said? 4 to 6 months to send me a part. Chrissy, so funny. So, so what could I have done in that moment? Gotten super worked up. Why? Because my expectations were not fulfilled, not being met. I paid this money. They agreed to send it. Not only did they send me the wrong bike, the wrong part to fix the bike, and they had the wrong attached prong to the bike, and now they're going to take it, right? And you won't even believe the next part. And I can't send them the bike back because they're backlogged and they don't have space at a warehouse or another bike shop to take it. I was like, okay. So did I get worked up? Not at all. What was my intention? Because my intention changed. It went from let's fix the bike, I'll have it for a week, and then I'll give it to my son, and it'll be here when I get back after my travels, right? My expectation. That expectation, holding on to it, would cause me what? Suffering. This is ridiculous. It should be like this. It should be like this. It should be like this. Right? Get all worked up. Not helpful. So I said, new intention and new expectation. I emailed them back. I'm not going to send you the email, but I emailed them back Christian Long style using my throat chakra. Within 10 minutes, they refunded it completely and gave me the bike. right? So I changed my intention and I changed my expectation to alleviate my suffering. Now, Christian, what if they didn't refund you? Change my intention, change my expectation, do something different. The point is, you don't have to suffer as you're solving problems. That's the takeaway. There's problems in life, there's suffering in life, but it's your perception about it that matters, right? You can have somebody attending their 50th, their 50th wedding anniversary with the love of their life and that day be miserable. And then you can have people that are imprisoned for 20 years and they can be in prison looking out the prison window and having a beautiful moment. Why? It's the expectations. It's the viewpoint of the person. People are way too entangled with the external world. So if they didn't refund my money, I would have changed my expectations and intention and keep moving forward to getting the outcome that I seek, right? So I have expectations in Hawaii, but if they're unfulfilled because they're unrealistic, because I don't see the playing field correctly, then I change it. That's all. But that's a very good question about expectations. If the result of the issue is wrong, how do you know if the result of your unrealistic expectations or just the fact that the other person screwed up? If the result of the issue is wrong, which is relative, right? How do you know if it was a result of your unrealistic expectations or just the fact that the other person screwed up? So if you have wrong viewpoint, your thoughts, your words, your actions, your practice, your livelihood, everything will be wrong, right? So if you look at the fruit of an interaction between you and another person, if you look at the fruit of a situation, that'll tell you what seeds you planted previously. So then you go, oh, okay. Like for instance, Master Choa says, for a person who doesn't practice discernment, the fruit of that is to be deceived. Why? Because giving you the opportunity to practice discernment. Why? So you can practice seeing things clearly. Why? So you don't make the same stupid mistakes over and over again and you can move your life forward, right? So um, the fact that somebody screwed up could be any number of reasons. You had unrealistic expectations. You're expecting a young soul to act in a mature way. Maybe that's your fault, right? You don't see the person clearly. But you can change it on a dime. That's why when we talk about the 7 levels of forgiveness, the saint forgives within minutes or instantaneously. That's the goal to get to that point. So when somebody hurts us, we have to immediately go, that person's a soul. That person's in the process of growing, and we all make mistakes. Evolution involves time, process, and lots of mistakes. I've had my share of mistakes and learned from them. So can this person. I wish you learn the lesson. I wish you move forward. I let go, I let go, I let go, disconnect, cut, 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 cut. Then you move forward. Or why did this person screw up again? Why is this person sabotaging me? Why are they causing me so much pain, sorrow, and suffering? Well, who's suffering? Them or you? You. Because it's your viewpoint. But if you just saw them, hey, whatever. Somebody was burning down one of Master Choa's warehouses. And he's like, yeah. He goes, person's very angry. They didn't get this, this, and this. And my insurance will cover it. That's it. Guess the bike wasn't meant to be. Yeah, it wasn't meant to be. So I can complain and moan and be angry and spew stuff on social media and do all of those things, right? Where would that lead me? What seeds am I planting, right? Which actually, funny enough, connecting it to expectations, I was talking with a mentor of mine about this a few days ago. So for every year for almost at least I think 20 years at this point, the Sheraton Mawa in Mawa, New Jersey, they do the Arhatic Yoga retreat there. usually the end of February or the beginning of March, depending upon, certain factors. And there's a wait staff that takes care of all the Arhatic yogis. Like from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to bed, there's like people taking care of us, food in the morning, food in the afternoon, food in the evening, filling up the coffee things, bringing out coffee, like really taking care of us, taking care of the masters and everything, right? Then one year, Master Glenn said he was on stage and he was talking about how many yogis or Arhatic yogis went up to him and said, who had been regular attendees, and they said this year's staff was really bad, really, really bad. Like they kept dropping the ball consistently. And I remember the year, it was 3 or 4 years ago, but I remember like that energy, like just things weren't working. And it was a new people, because some of the people I've seen for 12, 13 years. It's amazing to me. I was like, guys have been here so long. So they've always taken care of us. And Master Glenn is a huge tipper, right? Because we tip them as our Arhatic yogis, and then he gives them a separate tip, right? If you get bad service, what do you do? What do the ordinary people do? You don't tip, right? Guess what Master Glenn did? He tipped even more than he normally does. Why? Because he's planting the seed to be taken care of moving forward. You could go, yeah, but our expectation was we get taken care of year after year after year after year. What happened? Well, the karma wasn't there to be taken care of. So if you want to ensure a better harvest, what do you have to do? Plant a bigger seed, batch, whatever you want to call it. But that's not how the ordinary person works. They go, I got crappy service, forget you. You get 5% tip. You get no tip. So what did that person just do? Generated negative karma. Because you're reaping what you sow. That's why you had a crappy experience at that particular moment in time. So A, you're not practicing gratitude. B, you're not learning the lesson. C, instead of planting good seeds moving forward, you're planting bad seeds moving forward. You're planting the seeds of scarcity, lack, and not revenge. Something like revenge, it's a little less energy, less intense, right? But in this case with Master Glenn, he said, I gave even more this year. So we have a better year. And then the next year was great, right? So I hope that cleared up that question. I could have reworded that. I have an idea what you meant. I could have reworded that a little better from the other questions. You guys get the point. Okay. So, what crystals or objects can one have or carry during a sales meeting to increase the likelihood of closing the sale? It's a good question. So, number one, rose oil on the heart. Right? We're talking about objects and we're talking about physical things. Rose oil is about for this much, right? About that much. Like think of 1/4 of an ounce, if I'm not mistaken, about $350. It'll last you a while, but Bulgarian rose is about $350. But if that's cleansed, consecrated, and programmed, and you place it on your heart goes. So you're going, well, what does this have to do with sales? Come on, everyone. We buy from people who we know, we like, and we trust. Heart chakra, right? We buy from people we know, we like, we trust. So when we feel good around another person, we want to give them money, we want to give them resources, we want to have an exchange of energy, right? But if the person is solar plexus, really aggressive, anyone ever interact with an aggressive salesperson, timeshare, car sales, whatever, how does it make you feel? Ugh, repulsed, right? You withdraw, you pull back. because the solar plexus is overactivated and the heart is underactivated. So if you take rose oil and put it on your heart, right in the center of your chest and between the nipples, the heart goes, right? And you don't have to think about it, right? Instead of like, I'm constantly invoking during this sales meeting, you just put it on your heart and the heart expands. You can also, speaking of oils, take blue chamomile, dab it in the center of your solar plexus, and then dab it on the webbing of your left thumb and right thumb. And what that does is make your solar plexus go super teeny tiny. If you have a tendency to be aggressive with people when you are trying to persuade them, right? Makes your solar plexus calm. So people, if your solar plexus is agitated and activated, it will activate and agitate the solar plexus of someone else. Um, Also, you can have a rose quartz ball on your desk. So if you have people coming in to see you for sales, consultations, meetings, they can come in and that will radiate the rose quartz ball. It has to be cleansed and consecrated, not just an ordinary ball. It has to be cleansed and consecrated, and then it will radiate pink energy and it will activate the person's heart. So that will also help. And you go, well, Christian, you're manipulating people energetically. No, you're sowing good seed. I make you feel good. And expectations, everyone. I make you feel good, and I have no expectations that you're going to reciprocate in that exact moment. I made that guy feel good. I activated his heart. Why wasn't he spending $100,000 with me? Because you're not karmically entitled yet. That's okay. Do more service and more tithing. Learn your lesson. Be grateful. Practice forgiveness. Become better at selling, right? I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I'm very good at what I do. I have a closing ratio of 85%, right? But it's kind of funny because Master Co came from a very strong sales background, very aggressive sales background, and then he gets involved in the healing arts. And guess what? You can't sell healing. It doesn't work, right? It doesn't work because people need to feel loved, need to feel cared for. They don't need to be closed. So you just activate your heart, go, here's what I can help you with. This is my expertise. Would you like to move forward? And if the soul is ready and the soul knows that this is a channel to get assistance with, then they'll go, yeah, I'm open. I'm ready. Let's do it. Every time I've had to convince somebody to do healing, not every time is it backfire, but most times because they're difficult to work with. Not that you can't be Not that you can't have ailments and conditions and fears and traumas and phobias and negative programs and blind spots and limiting beliefs. That's part of healing. But to be resistant towards the healer, that's a problem, right? They're not going to get as good results. So you can't really sell healing. You can sell cars, you can sell planes, you can sell boats, you can sell houses, and you can be aggressive because it deals with physical things, right? Not so much for spirituality, meditation, healing, yoga, things like that. Um, what else could you use for objects? There's the Arhatic Yoga cross you can buy on uspranichealing.com. Your Arhatic Yoga cross, they're like $150, and that balances the upper and lower auras and strengthens your energy. So when you meet with people, so one of the masters, this is something to write down. The person with with the most energy always wins. The person with the most energy always wins. So anything you can do to increase your energy. Arhat the cross, rose, essential oil, rose quartz ball on your desk. Um, ooh, all right, you ready? Giving you all the secrets today. You face north. So if you're in a negotiation with someone, you face north, they face south. I think I could have shared that. I think it's okay. Um, yeah. What else? What else can you do? Do twin hearts. I know that's not really holding something or an object or an oil, but do twin hearts before your meeting and bless the person. Bless them with prosperity, abundance, and success. Right? Because ultimately, if you're trying to sell somebody something, don't you want it to improve the quality of their life? Right? Or you're just trying to make a buck. Nothing wrong with making a buck, right? Let's be honest about it. But if it's at the expense of another person, then that's not good. Any other objects? Kriya Shakti ring on your dominant hand. Middle finger. I have to give you the whole thing. Middle finger, dominant hand, which would be your right hand, and have it made properly, cleansed, and consecrated. A good Kriya Shakti ring will cost you about $700 to $1,000. And then the other rings cost thousands of dollars. A Kriya Shakti ring is one of the lesser expensive ones. So that's what's the purpose of that? It makes your energy more dense and materializing, which is good for sales, right? It stimulates your basic chakra. I think that covers that question. Next one. How can one use energy to attract clients to them in a positive, ethical manner? Yeah, your heart. Heart is what pulls people to you, right? Serving, giving, being generous. That's how you change the energy. Um, so activating your heart, doing your twin hearts meditation before you meet with people. Um, what else can you do for your blessing the back heart? That's typically a good place when you work with someone. Bless the back heart chakra with love. So see their back heart expanding. So you picture them, them with their backs to you, and you just see their back heart in between their scapula, and see it expanding with light. So you bless them with love, 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 love. Then it gets bigger, bigger, bigger. Right? That's something you can do. Um, Also, another thing, if you know them working with you will or them buying your product or service will truly benefit them, it's okay to push a little, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like it, like there's certain people that I know need to hear a certain message around healing in a way that's not the norm, but because I know unequivocally it's going to help them, I push a little because their programs are getting them off the beaten path. So I have to kind of like give them a little bit extra love, a little bit extra enthusiasm, a little bit extra nudge to like move them in the right direction. So that's something that I use to attract people and work with them ethically. It's like manipulating them to move their lives forward. Um, what else? How can one use energy to attract? Yeah. So all those things are connected to using energy to attract. What not to do? Uh, don't be cruel. Don't be severe. Don't come from the solar plexus when you talk to people. Don't be all ajna when you talk to people. Come from the heart. Next question. Is it oh, oop, lost the questions. Come back questions. There we go. Is it is it is it okay to be selfish sometimes? It's a good question. I would beg to differ and I would reword it to self-interest sometimes. So selfishness and self-interest are both in the solar plexus. Selfishness is when you desire something at the expense of another person. So I'm going to get mine regardless of who it hurts and how it hurts them. That's selfishness. Self-interest is how can I make this thing happen without hurting anyone? And then you just move forward, right? So if you have a product or service that benefits humanity, that helps people, then you push that all day long, right? Self-interest. But if you have a product or service that only benefits you and it hurts the lives of others, the environment, it's cheap, it's toxic, it's whatever, then that's selfishness. That's greed, right? So I recommend staying away from that. Um, but yes, it's important to practice self-interest. For instance, I'll give you an example. And it's not easy for me to do this because of my previous conditioning and training. Me spending time with my son versus doing our talk yet last week, that's a function of me practicing self-interest, right? That was me practicing self-interest. Not that I don't love you guys, not that I don't love serving the community, um, but I was like, okay, my batteries are low. I need some time to recharge. I'm spending time with my son, which is very important to me, and that was it, right? So, but guilt kicks in, shame kicks in because those are programs and those are conditioning that I am aware of. So I was like, hey, programs, I am not that, right? Time with him is super important. You don't get it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And my mentor um, shared something with me recently. She says, when you practice healthy boundaries, you don't need to explain yourself. I'm not there yet. I like to give people understanding because I like understanding, right? Because I'm sowing the seed. So she goes, you can just do what you're going to do and never give a reason as to why you're doing it. I'm like, I guess. Yeah, that's fair. So I'm practicing that. It's not easy for me because I don't have that training and that mindset. I'm like, well, the reason I'm doing this, this, and this, or not doing this, this, or that, and here's the reason. And she's like, no, you just say, I'm not doing it. That's it. She goes, you don't owe anyone an explanation for anything ever. I was like, that sounds a lot like the Landmark Forum, which I took in 1999 in Chicago. It sounds a lot like that. So they talk about the story, right? You don't need a story when you tell somebody something because you're putting the responsibility on the story, not on your own integrity, your commitment, where you stand. I think self care is another part of that is need. It's not selfish to need to take care of yourself. Yes. Um, and I think a lot of people, a lot of healers inside and outside of pranic healing deal with that because we want to help, we want to serve, we want to be there for humanity. And it's the balancing act. Self-interest, selfishness, self-care, love of others, love of self. It's always moving. It's always moving, right? Because sometimes you're like, I got to work extra hours today, and you do it. And then sometimes you're like, I need to take time off. By the way, some of you know this. For years, I worked 7 days a week. For years, doing healing, teaching meditation, etc. And then when I was in Montana, I was experimenting. I go, let me try working 4 days, squeeze everyone together, and then I have 3 days off. And it was glorious. My energy was super bright. It was clean. I was happy. I was content. The different needs were being met in my life. And then guess what? Little by little, third day got filled up, fourth day got filled up, fifth day, and then back to 7 days a week. So coming up in the next week or so, I'm going to be going back to 4 days a week because I can serve people better doing 4 days a week on, 3 days a week off, right? And that's not easy for me to do, but it's the right thing to do. Okay. So, no, it's not okay to be selfish. Yes, it's okay to practice self-interest. And yes, it's okay to love other people. But you have to have boundaries. I finally did that when I owned the gym, finally went to 4 days a week, except competition season. Great. But again, that requires what? Awareness, understanding of the situation. Um, yeah, I think that answered that. How do I increase my receptivity and conductivity to God? Well, it's a pretty big question. I can't really answer it in the next few minutes, but in essence, purification of negative thoughts, negative emotions, and negative congestion within the physical body makes you more conductive and more receptive to soul energy, your higher soul energy. As Holy Master DK would say, all disease is from lack of soul contact. All, not some. All disease is from lack of soul contact. So, how do you have stronger soul contact? By removing the impurities within your bodies. So, soul energy fills those areas, and then the soul is controlling those areas versus the lower tendencies. They're not, the lower tendencies aren't controlling. It's like the bodies are on autopilot, which is not a good place to be. Another thing you can do is when you're listening to a teacher, when you're listening to a podcast, when you're listening to or watching a YouTube video, or you're being taught, you can mentally affirm, I'm super conductive, I'm super receptive, I'm super conductive, I'm super receptive, I'm super conductive, I'm super receptive. And that expands your energy, and then it makes you like a sponge for the light passing through the person speaking into you. So that's one of the things that we practice at the retreats, right? It's not something you're saying every second of the entire talk or what have you, but it's a moment in time of I'm super receptive, I'm super conductive. And then you can literally feel energy flowing into you, which is already there. As Master Choa says, we are swimming in an infinite ocean of prana. But because of our lack of awareness, lack of understanding, we think we're not. We think we're just these physical bodies having physical experiences, but we're spiritual beings in using different bodies to learn different lessons on different planes. So that's one of the top things I would recommend for receptivity. I am super conductive, I am super receptive. And you become a sponge like that. So even when you're getting healing from someone, I'm super conductive, I'm super receptive. Because think about it. If you're in a fight with someone, or you come across with someone you don't like, or someone you have an aversion to, what happens? Energy is not flowing because you don't want their energy flowing into you. You have an aversion, right? So you're not conductive or receptive to that person. That's why one of the factors of healing is the client liking the healer. If the client doesn't like the healer, guess what? They're not super conductive, and they're not super receptive to the healing energies passing through the healer into the client. So one of the biggest factors is negative pride. So if the person has a lot of negative pride, they're not receptive, they're not conductive, energy doesn't flow into them, and they don't heal. Ta-da! That's why, in general, I don't work with people that have a lot of negative pride. In general. Like if they're like, show me your magic, or this doesn't really work, my so-and-so talked me into it. Yeah, well, I guess we're not doing it then. But you know, the funny thing is, what are you taught in sales? When you take something away from somebody, what does it make them do? It makes them chase it. Makes them what? Conductive and receptive. Ta-da! Okay, so our last question. Dun, dun, dun. Should you be a meat eater or a vegetarian on the spiritual path? Ooh, good question. It depends. It depends. So we talk about refinement, right? Meat is dense. Meat is dense. So when you eat meat, it drops your energy. It makes your energy body denser. What is spirituality? Refinement. It's going from material to spiritual, right? When you smoke, drink, eat meat, gamble, do certain kinds of lifestyle choices, it drops your energy, which could be a good or bad thing depending. What do I mean by that? There are some spiritual people who are so ungrounded, they're like a tethered balloon floating around, and it's very, very difficult for them to ground. So they can eat meat, chicken, beef, lamb, it will drop their energy. So they become what? Embodied again. They're like, oh, I have a physical body. So for many, many years, I've been on again, off again of being vegetarian and eating meat, right? But as I've learned, as I go up and up and up in my practice currently, eating meat is not good for me. Not good for me at all. And one of the masters says at this current level of Arhatic Yoga, what you eat is the most important thing to be aware of. So I was like, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about. Negative pride. You're only a master. Negative pride. So what did I do? I was like, I'm just going to eat what I'm going to eat. And then weirdly enough, my body started getting sick in ways that it's never gotten sick before. Why? Because I was doing my practice, but I was not eating. My diet was not, it's not that my diet wasn't clean, it's that my diet had too much meat in it. And that was the problem, right? So some people eat meat to ground themselves. There's other practices you can do to ground yourself. Maybe those people don't know those practices. So you can ground yourself eating meat, but ideally it's best to be vegetarian at certain levels of development. Also, it's connected to alleviating the suffering of the animal kingdom. Because when you consume meat from the animal kingdom, there's a pretty high degree of suffering that took place with that animal. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. So you're merging your consciousness with the suffering of the animal. I'm going to plant a seed with you guys. Try it as an experiment one time or multiple times. It's really fascinating. Next time you eat something, try to reverse engineer what you're eating. So if you're eating meat, like let's say you're having a hamburger, you got the bun, the lettuce, the tomato, the onion, the burger, right? As you're taking a bite, practice oneness and experience all of it. So go to the farms, go to the animal. Like you can do it. I'm not saying it's easy, it takes practice, but that is oneness, meaning every particle is connected to every other particle. So it's it will definitely make your meals way more interesting. Eating a candy bar, practice oneness and go, where are those nuts? How is that caramel made? Who were the people making the caramel? The person who poured the sugar in. I know I'm talking a little higher level, not a little higher level, much higher level. But you at some point in your development can experience oneness. It's called it's called psychometrics. The practice is called psychometrics. That sounds creepy. If I do that, I may never eat meat again. Yeah, because what you'll start doing is feeling what? The suffering of the animal. And you'll start, as you get better and better and better, you can start feeling if it was kosher or not. Because you'll start seeing things in the inner world. You'll see the blessing of the rabbi. I mean, I'm talking like this is much, much higher level. You may not get it overnight, but through enough purification, enough awareness, enough stillness, you can, like this phone, right? With the proper technique, you can connect to every person who built this phone. Mealtime is going to be so different now. Like, okay, you ready? Watch. Have you noticed, true or not true, have you noticed the food that your mom makes is different than store-bought food? Yes or no? Why? Because your mom's energy of love is in there. Hello? That's the difference. So you're already practicing it semi-consciously of connecting to the energy of the food that you consume. So again, meat vibrates lower than fruits and vegetables. So it slows down the prana circulation in your body. So you start creating blockages in the nadis or in the channels. I need to learn to eat green things. Yeah, super good for you. A lot of vitality. And I'll leave you with this. If you could see clairvoyantly the energy of meat and the energy of fruits and vegetables, it would be a no-brainer. No-brainer. But that comes with clear seeing. That's what clairvoyance is, right? Clear seeing. So I hope that helps. I hope that opened up some doorways for you guys. The spiritual path never gets boring. It's infinite in its nature. And that's why we could do one topic, because one topic is connected to all topics, right? Because of the principle of oneness, because everything leads back to oneness. Everything leads back to God. So on that note, let's close. Be aware of your. Oh, go ahead, Beth. Go ahead. Can I throw? Yes, go ahead. See, do it. Bonus. We have a bonus question coming in, everyone. Please take your seats. If you play the ohms in one part of the house, does it cover the whole house? Only if it's audible in the other part of the house. That's what people don't understand about the mantra. If you want to etherically and physically clean a place, it has to be audible. It can't be all the way turned down and have the expectation that it's going to radiate throughout the whole house. It only radiates within the sound and the what's it called, the radiant of the noise. So if it's in a corner of your room and you're playing it and you can't hear it, it's not affecting your room, right? It has to travel throughout the space. Good question. Again, if you play ohms in one part of the house, does it cover the whole house? No. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So whenever I'm traveling into hotel rooms, I whip out my phone. I whip out my little fat black speaker, my little boom speaker, Wonder Boom. I put it in the center of the bed. I put Om Nama Rama Om, which is for healing, and I crank it up for a minimum of 10 minutes, and the place is cleared out like that. Super effective because, hello, what kind of energies are in a hotel room? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah, super heavy. Super heavy. You have people having sex, you have people drinking, you have people passing out, you have people doing drugs, you have people um, sex trafficking. I mean, you name it. Like all kinds of stuff's going on in a hotel room, right? If you're sensitive, if you're sensitive, you feel those things. So you have to keep it clean. Airbnbs. I've been in one for months now, like all over the place. You got to keep them clean. So, Om Nama Rama Om or Om Namah Shivaya Om or just Master Choa's um, uh, the sound, not the sound of silence. That's not the right one. Did I name it properly here? Om. Dagnabbit, I didn't name it properly. Om, the divine sound. There we go. No. Hold on. I want. This is important. I want you guys to know it. Om. Uh, by the way, listening to recordings of Master Choa's work on YouTube is intellectual stealing. Yeah, this is the divine sound. Certain students, not practicing students, maybe previous students, have taken the teacher's work and put it on YouTube. It's intellectual stealing. If you're going to use it, donate to the center, donate to Manila, donate somewhere, and then you can use it on YouTube. If you don't want to work with a physical copy. So it's called Om the Divine Sound. So the three mantras you can use to cleanse and purify a space. Om Namah Shivaya. These are all Master Choa's recordings. Om Namah Shivaya. Om the divine sound, or Om Namarama Om are all very effective for cleansing and purifying a space. Okay, excellent. No, Om the sound of stillness is for meditation. Om the sound of stillness is for meditation. One, the intention's different. Two, the gap is longer. That's why it's more for meditative. Because when you're cleansing a place, Om, 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 breaking it up, breaking it up, breaking it up, breaking it up, versus having that big gap where you can leave the body. Okay? Excellent. Let's close. Everyone place their hands on their beautiful hearts, nice and expanded from all that etheric rose, essential oil. Be aware of the crown. Feel the crown expanding. Be aware of the heart and the crown together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to Grandmaster Cho Kuksui, Lord Mahaguru Jamiling, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Saraswati, to Holy Master Count Saint Germain, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, healing ministers, to our divine selves or higher souls, we thank you, thank you, thank you all for your great, great blessings. Thank you for the greater awareness, understanding of who and what we are. Thank you for the deep and profound healing to transform our lives and to be a greater instrument of goodwill and the will to do good for others, to alleviate the suffering of others, pain of others, to truly alchemize our lives into holiness, to sainthood, and beyond. We thank you with gratitude, respect, and love. So be it, so be it, and so it is. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, I will be posting this in the group shortly. Any questions, let me know. I will be busy Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then I'll be doing the Twin Hearts meditation soon before I leave to go to Hawaii, which will be, I'm flying out 6 o'clock Wednesday morning on the 1st, 6 o'clock a.m. on the 1st. Like, I have to pretty much be at the airport, and then we take off at 8 in the morning. So it'll be good. Yay. Send me lots of light, love, and power for getting the COVID test taken and getting the results back on time within that 72-hour window. So be it, so be it, so be it, so be it. Thanks, Beth. Appreciate you. COVID, the Ovid test? What's the Ovid test? Is that another one? Are you telling me there's another test I have to take? Oh, I just thought it was one test. Now there's an Ovid test? Man. Whew. Well, I'll add that to my list. Love you guys very much. Bye bye. See the reflection? Glasses reflection. Let me